Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. This is the second module of the course Hajj and Umrah. In this module, we shall look at the methodology of performing and offering Hajj and Umrah. So we start off with the methodology of offering Umrah. So first, the ihram has to be put on with the intention of doing Umrah. Intention is important. It is something which you have in your own mind and in your own heart. So those people who are coming from outside of Mecca, they should put on the ihram from their respective miqat. We have discussed the miqats in our previous module. Locals, whether they are Meccans or are temporarily staying in Mecca, should put it on from some nearby place located outside the limits of the haram. And those who live outside the limits of the haram but are located within the miqat, their miqat is their own place of residence. So wherever they are living, they can put on the ihram from there. So next, the recital of the talbiyah should continue. It should begin and continue until the pilgrim reaches the Baytullah. Now once he arrives there, he should offer the tawaf of the Baytullah. Then the sa'i should be offered. If the pilgrim has brought the hadi, which are the animals, for sacrifice with them, then they should be sacrificed. After sacrifice, and after this animal sacrifice, men should have their heads, shaven, or they should have a haircut, and women should cut a small tuft of their hair, and then they can take off their ihram. So the ihram is a religious term. It signifies that the pilgrims will not indulge in lewd talk. They will not use any adornments, for example, perfume. They will not pare their nails, nor shave or cut any body hair. They will not even remove any dirt or filth from them. So much so, they will not even kill any lice of their body. They will not hunt preys, nor wear stitch cloth, because you see, the ihram signifies one's devotion and dedication to the Almighty while cutting off his or her ties from all worldly activities. They will expose their heads, faces, and upper part of their feet. They will wear one sheet as loincloth and fold another around themselves. This is as far as men are concerned. Women, however, can wear stitched clothes and cover their heads and feet. They are not required to, they are actually required to expose their hands and faces. They can cover their heads, but they have to expose their hands and faces. The talbiyah that we have just discussed is a cry, is a call, it's a slogan which a pilgrim utters as he leaves his miqat and arrives in Baytullah. So the tawaf refers to the 7 rounds which begin with the Hajr Aswad, and they end with it as well. And the istilam of the Hajr Aswad is done at the beginning of each round. What does istilam mean? It means the kissing of the Hajr Aswad, or touching it at the beginning of each round. And whenever you're passing through that, if the place is crowded, when you go to the Hajr Aswad, if you're not able to kiss it or you're not able to touch it, and if the place is crowded, and a pilgrim can just raise his hands in its direction, or even point a stick or something similar towards it. So this would be sufficient for that. The sa'i is actually the tawaf of Safa and Marwa. This also consists of 7 rounds, which begin with Safa. A complete round extends from Safa to Marwa, and the last round ends on Marwa. Animal sacrifice, like animal sacrifice, the sa'i of Safa and Marwa, they are optional, they are voluntary, they are not a mandatory part of the Umrah, and we know, even not the Hajj as well, as we shall see later. So the words of the Quran are, Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'airillah faman hajjal bayta aw i'tamara fala junaha alayhi an yattawwafa bihima wa man tatawwa'a khairan fa inna Allaha shakirun alim. The Safa and Marwa are indeed 2 of God's symbols, so it shall be no offense for those who come for Hajj or Umrah of this sacred house to walk around them. In fact, this is a virtuous deed, and he who does a virtue of his own or his own will, God will accept it and is fully aware of it. As far as hadi is concerned, they refer to animals which have been specifically reserved and devoted in the haram. They have been made to travel there, and they are devoted for the haram. And in order to make them distinct from the rest of the animals, their bodies are marked, and there are certain collars which they wear. And the Quran actually uses the words al-qalaid for them, which means that they are they wear certain collars around their necks. So this is as far as Umrah is concerned. So now we come to the methodology of offering Hajj. So like the Umrah, the Hajj also begins with the wearing of Ihram with the same conditions. So a person has to wear Ihram and make the intention that he is about to offer Hajj. And then, of course, people who are coming outside of Mecca, they should put on their Ihram from their miqats, their local miqats. We know that miqats have been described and discussed in detail in our last module. Those who are coming from outside Mecca should put on the Ihram from their miqat, which I just said. And locals, whether they are, they are Meccans, they are living there, or they are temporarily residing there, but they live outside the limits of Haram, and actually their residences are within the miqat. So their residences are outside Haram, but they are within the miqat. So they can wear their ihram from their own residences, because their own residences will be classed as their miqat. Now on the 8th of Zil-Hajj, the pilgrims have to go to Mina and they have to reside there. They should go to Arafat on the 9th of Zil-Hajj. At the Arafat, the Imam will deliver the sermon before the Zuhr prayer, and the Zuhr and the Asr prayers shall be combined and shortened. So remember, we also discussed this, that basically Hajj symbolizes war with Satan, and in deference to this symbolism, prayers are shortened, and it's like an army camping from one place to another, giving due regard to that symbolism of waging war. So after the prayer, once they have done their Asr prayer at Arafat, pilgrims should celebrate the glory of God. They should exalt Him. They should express His oneness, and also express their gratitude to Him. Then after sunset, they have to set off for Muzdalifah. So from Arafat, they will now go to Muzdalifah, and you can also see on your screens how this, the map which shows how this whole process will be undertaken. Now, after arriving at Muzdalifah, the pilgrims should offer the prayers of Maghrib and Isha. Again, they have to combine them and shorten them. And once again, by the same token, this is the symbolization of war against Satan, and hence the Maghrib and Isha prayers have also been combined and shortened. The night has to be spent on the field of Muzdalifah. Now, next day after Fajr, once they offer the Fajr prayer, the pilgrims for some time should once again glorify the Almighty, beseech Him, express their gratitude to Him, and invoke His blessings, just as they did at Arafat. Then they should leave for Mina, and once they reach the Jamra-e-Aqaba, they should stop reciting the Talbiyah and pelt that Jamra with 7 stones. So this is what they will do. If the pilgrims have brought hadi with them, the animals for sacrifice, or if it has become incumbent upon them to sacrifice animals which have been devoted to, which are a means of atonement, then these should be sacrificed. After sacrifice, men should shave their heads, or they can have a haircut, as the Quran says, مُحَلِّقِينَ رُؤُوسَكُمْ أَوْ مُقَصِّرِينَ. And women should cut a small tuft of their hair from the end, and then both can take off their ihram. After that, the pilgrims should set off for the Baytullah and offer the tawaf. With this, all restrictions which ihram entails shall be lifted. So once they take off their ihram, and then they go and do their tawaf at the house of God. After that, a pilgrim, if he wants, he can offer the sa'i of Safa and Marwa, though it is absolutely essential. Then they should go back to Mina. Once they do that, if they want to offer the sa'i, then they should do it, and then they have to go back to Mina and stay there for 2 or 3 days, and then everyone will pelt the first Jamra, then the middle one, and then the last one with 7 stones each. Ever since the times of Abraham, this is how the ritual of Hajj and Umrah has been offered, and you can see that it's a sunnah of the prophets of God, and Abraham specifically, and Prophet Muhammad only gave sanction to it. And as far as the Quran is concerned, it did not make any change. All it did was it clarified certain issues which had arisen and about which there was no clear directive already present. So some of the issues which the Quran discusses, I'm now going to describe them before you. The first of them is that showing reverence to whatever has been declared sacred by the Almighty regarding Hajj and Umrah is a requirement of faith. This is something which our faith requires. They should be expressed and followed at all costs. If some other group violates this sanctity, Muslims too have the right to retaliate on equal footings. The reason is that keeping intact this sanctity is ordained by God cannot be done one way. It's a two-way practice. So one member of the pact cannot just maintain that it owns. So if someone violates this sanctity, Muslims have been permitted that they can retaliate on equal footings, but they cannot take the initiative in this way in any regard. The second issue which the Quran has clarified is that in spite of the permission for war, Muslims cannot take any initiating in violating the sanctities, which I just said. I mean, they can defend, but they can never take the initiative. So these are God's sanctities, these are God's limits, and one simply cannot cross these bounds. The third issue which the Quran has clarified is that the prohibition of hunting while a pilgrim is wearing ihram is only for animals of the land. Hunting sea animals or eating sea animals which have been hunted by others is allowed. This permission does not mean, however, that people should wrongly start to benefit from it. The prey hunted on land is prohibited in all circumstances. So if a person deliberately commits such a sin, so remember, if you're traveling by sea, the prey is allowed. I mean, you can hunt because there is no other way to survive, because of which this concession has been given. But when a person is traveling by land, then he cannot hunt for an animal. But if he does so, he deliberately commits such a thing, then it has to be atoned for. And there are three ways for this atonement. A household quadruped, similar animal to that which has been hunted, should be sent to the Baitullah for sacrifice, and so on and so forth. These have been mentioned. The fourth issue is that if the pilgrims are not able to reach the sacred house and are stranded somewhere, then they can offer sacrifice like a goat or a camel. And even if this is not possible, they should slaughter them at the place they are stranded. I mean, so wherever they are stranded, they can. Either they can send their animals, the sacrificial animals, to the house of God. But if that is not possible, then they should sacrifice them wherever they are. And after shaving their heads, they can take off their ihram. So this will complete their Hajj and Umrah. So this is a concession also which is given to them, that in case they are not able to reach the sacred house and are stranded somewhere, they can stay put there and they can send their sacrificial animals. But even if that cannot be done, then they can be sacrificed right at the place that they are stranded. And once they are stranded, once they have been sacrificed, after shaving their heads, the ihram can be taken off. The fifth issue is that if those who have come from outside want to combine Hajj with Umrah in one journey, then they can do so. The way to do this is that they should first take off their ihram after offering the Umrah. Then they should wear it again on the 8th of Zul Hajj and then offer Hajj. This is a mere concession, and the very concession tells us that the recommendation here is that people should actually offer Hajj and Umrah on two separate journeys and should try as far as they can not to combine them. Now, if this is this is a concession that has been provided to save people from getting two separate journeys. So if they combine them, then they will have to atone for combining them. So this has also been mentioned in the Quran. The Quran tells us they should offer sacrifice of whatever animal is available to them, from a camel or a cow or a goat. If this is not possible, then they should fast for 10 days, 3 during their Hajj stay and 7 when they return. Sabatan iza raja'tum, as the Quran says. So it is evident that, of course, that it is best that we undertake these journeys separately. The sixth issue which the Quran has sacrificed is that pilgrims can return from Mina on the 12th of Zul Hajj and can also stay there till the 13th. The Almighty has said that both cases is fine, they incur no sin. The reason for this is that the extent of stay does not hold real significance, whether you return on the 12th or the 13th. What does hold real significance is whether the time of stay, however much they stayed, whether they stayed under the 12th or the 13th, whether their time was spent in the remembrance of the Almighty. So dear viewers, this is a brief description of the methodology of offering Umrah and Hajj. And this brings us to an end to the second module.